Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi. Today, I'm very excited because we have a very special guest. He's part of our podcast community. He has his own podcast on our channel. His name is Scott Adams, and he is the Adams Consultant Firm. He has a great consultant firm in business consulting, and today he wants to talk about fractional leadership and the fractional COO role. And we're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about why it's so important and everything that will help you in this podcast is going to help you grow your business and help you elevate to the levels that you want. So, Scott, it's a pleasure to have you here. For people who are just tuning in and they may not have saw any previous episodes, tell everybody a little about yourself and who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Stacey. It's great to be back on your show. And I know since we last chatted, you've had a lot of big accomplishments in your professional career. So I wanted to congratulate you on that first.
Thank you.
Um, to answer your first question, to roll into a little bit about me, I have over, I don't know, I lose count these days. It's like time flies, 20 to 30 years of experience in the healthcare, wellness, and sports industry. A
Mhm.
lot of that has involved technology as well, either collaborating with tech companies to bring tech into those industries,
Right.
or helping those industries integrate tech as well. So I've worked with companies such as Mayo Clinic, Google, Intel, Exos. I've worked on projects with Deloitte and Boston Consulting Group as well. My real specialty and background, despite being involved in those industries, is to help companies grow and scale. A lot of that's through improving operational process and leadership, and a huge part of that is strategy and obviously skill development for executives and the rest of the team.
I love it. I love it. Now, you wanted to talk about because you felt very passionate about what fractional leadership is and the role of the COO. Now, can you briefly introduce the concept of the fractional leadership and then specify and define what a fractional COO is? Because I think a lot of people don't
Yeah.
really hear that term very often. So they're going to say, what's fractional leadership? What's a COO? And because, usually people hear CEO, they don't hear COO, but, once in a while people talk about it, but they don't really, it's not really a term used all the time. And a lot of business people don't always know it if they're, a small business, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. It's an evolving field, right? Traditionally, your C-suite is an alphabet soup of titles, right? The
Yeah.
CEO, like you just mentioned, everyone knows. COO is typically a chief operating officer. So they're going to take care of all the operational needs because we really understand, and I've seen in my career, um, really firsthand how crucial operational excellence is, especially in a smaller size company. And
Yeah.
it's something I'm really passionate about. Now, the fractional space is a little bit different, right? What it
Yes.
is it's still a leadership role, but it really brings a high level of expertise into a company on a reduced time, part time, project based, or interim basis. And
Right.
it's really about access, having access to someone with, like myself, 25, 30 years experience in the industry at a
Right.
fraction of the cost. So there's a lot of benefits that we'll go into. Um, but that's what it is. Today we see a more of a freelance, adaptable workplace,
Yeah.
and this is another area that we see continue to grow. Now we see fractional roles developing even in the CEO space for a lot of founders, but I work in the operations space. There's fractional marketing executives, there's fractional finance executives, and it'll help a smaller size business, small and medium size, to really add an executive leadership presence to their team at a fraction of a cost.
Right.
So we could go in that a little bit more, but that's kind of the essence of it.
So how could how could it actually help? What are some of the key advantages, by having, fractional leadership in your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I find there's four main benefits that companies have, right? First, especially when you're talking about smaller and medium-sized business. And again, that could be anywhere from a startup to someone who's even making, 50 to $100 million a year, right? The medium, it varies in the length, but one is cost efficiency,
Yeah.
right? And that's one of the biggest drivers for a smaller sized business. Your typical chief operations executive, they can easily exceed $500,000 a year,
Hmm.
right? that's something that a smaller sized business just can't handle. But
Yeah.
in the fractional role and how I work my services, typically I'll work with clients based on a chunk of time. So think about it as 1 day a week or 2 days a week.
Right.
Now, again, Stacey, that doesn't mean like just Mondays you get me, right? That we'll
Yeah.
spread that over time, and each client's a little bit different as to what they need. Do you want set dedicated time? Is it flexible? Do we meet, weekly, biweekly, whatever that is?
Yeah.
But really, it could give them a typical cost of somewhere between $4,000 and $8,000 a month, which is less than 30% of what a full-time equivalent would be for the role. So it allows them to avoid benefits, equity grants, and long-term liabilities. But this is especially critical in the startup environment because typically in a startup environment, 68% of your operational budget is usually dedicated to the core production of whatever it is you're doing. So that only leaves the 32% to pay for other bills and other staff. So you can see how valuable that cost efficiency could be for an organization. Scalability is another great benefit of this model because, like I said, it's based on chunks of time. So 1 day a week, 2 day a week. So if there's something that your company is doing, whether it's a large implementation, say a
Hmm.
digital transformation, or something just needs an overhaul, you can start with a more concentrated effort. So you could start at, say, a 2 or 3 day a week window. But then
Yeah.
as that initial project or implementation goes, you then can reduce time. So it allows you to scale up and scale down based on your needs, which also provides flexibility with the executive that you're employing. And again, it avoids the sunk costs of full timers, right? Which is a
Right.
key advantage of this. The third out of the four is the specialized expertise, right? Someone like myself has experience in a number of industries, a number of size companies. So those lessons learned translates across. Sometimes you just need a laser focus on something. Example in the healthcare space, you may need to go through FDA compliance or even reconfigure your global supply chain. So these are things that you can bring in a fractional executive to really narrow down on it. Now, studies have found that this surgical approach on really being specific and bringing someone in is 42% more cost effective than hiring someone full time for these needs. So again, that kind of ties back into the cost efficiency, but also the expert. The last one, as to why, this is a long answer, of course, but risk mitigation, right? That's another problem and another challenge for a lot of companies, right? They don't want to take the risk,
Yeah.
especially on a big price tag. So this a lot of times ends up becoming an extended executive audition,
Hmm.
right? You bring someone as a fractional, it really allows the company as well, say a 6 to 12 month assessment of a leadership fit, right?
Right.
How does that person fit in your organization? We do know that mishiring, especially at an executive level, can sometimes cost 2.5 times the salary of a full time replacement, right?
Right.
So that's a huge risk. Cultural assessment's a huge risk. And in fact, 35% of companies convert these fractional engagements into permanent roles as part of what they do. So again, there's four big benefits, but there's a lot to that, right? And a lot how it affects the outcomes on your costs today and where your company's going tomorrow.
So when you look at this, like what is the, really when you look at what they can do and you look at the advantages, is there basically when you have people coming in and helping you versus a fractional leadership rather than having a leadership consultant come in, is there like major differences that you would want to stress to the audience of why it's so valuable? You went over the advantages, but are there really some things? Because some people still might not understand the fractional leadership role and say, well, I could just have any consultant come in, or I could, use a business consultant, and what's the real benefit of it? Why is it so much better to have a fractional leadership consultant come in and help you in your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I thank you for asking that. It's something, again, what you find a lot of times is companies will hire a consultant. Now, consultants are great, and I've worked in that space. I still do today, but a lot of consultants will come in, analyze what is being done, and just kind of hand over a report and hand over recommended solutions, right? They don't get in the weeds of of your business. They don't implement. They don't continually assess how it's doing and where to adjust. So
Hmm.
you get really a hands-on approach. Typically in the full-time space, and this exists in the fractional space too, that
Hmm.
COO is the right-hand person to the CEO. And we find a lot of businesses start out small, and the CEO, the founder, are taking on a lot of excess tasks, right? And as time goes on, those tasks become too big, right? Suddenly you have 5 employees, 10 employees, and now the CEO is not dealing with how am I growing the business? How am I
Yeah.
networking? They're dealing with all the operational stuff,
Right.
right? And so that's when the fractional COO could come in and retake those things off of your plate, allow you to
Right.
be in that creative space or that space that'll help you to grow the business. And, there's a collaboration that goes on with helping in that process as well. Another thing you see as to kind of your question as to what that difference is um, companies a lot of times they start small and then suddenly someone who is an office manager now gets promoted into an operations role,
Hmm.
right? Because they're there, right? You don't have to add the salary, you give them a few extra responsibilities, you
Right.
bump their pay a little bit, but there comes a point where even that person outgrows the role, right?
Yeah.
Or I should say the company outgrows the role. So their skill sets, again, to no fault of theirs, but just isn't prepped and they don't have the experience in really helping a company take that next step.
Right.
So that's where the fractional comes in. Now, the added benefit that you get, again, a consultant will come in, assess the problem, and give you kind of something to do. That fractional spot, like we just talked about, will help you integrate and be a part of your day to day, week to week kind of going. So that also becomes a sounding board for the CEO, right? If they have ideas, if they need to pressure test things, if they want to talk through things that are going on in the business, they have somebody there that's accessible, right?
Hmm.
Because you're paying for access as part of this. And that can help a company grow. And it also helps because sometimes you find these smaller companies, they may have executive coaches, they may have consultants. Well,
Hmm.
now you can get both in a similar role, someone that knows your business inside and out.
Right.
And it might even be costing you less than those two combined every month. So the added benefit for them is really that leadership and that right hand person on their team to help them with the day to day, week to week, and month to month.
I like that. So the CEO really is a full-time job. This person really working with the CEO and really taking off a lot of those tasks that are really not helping the CEO really perform to its ultimate abilities because they have so much responsibilities and they're overseeing so many different things that they just don't have the ability to do everything. Therefore, the business suffers if you don't have a CEO in your business plan and in your corporation.
Yeah, and I think, and I'm guessing you may have gone through this at one point, Stacey, right? Like you're
Hmm.
starting your business, and then you hear this a lot from founders of companies. It's just I don't have that much time.
Yeah,
There's not enough time in the day to finish everything I need to, and
right.
there's fires coming up. And again, what happens? The ramifications of that is you're just living. It's kind of that fight or flight response in your
Yeah.
body, right? You get into that fight mode. So all you're doing then with your business is trying to put out those fires,
Yes.
right? Something happens, I just want to solve it now because I don't have time to dwell on this or really look at it. So I just need to
Right.
solve it in this moment. And that creates, if we want to take the body as an example, that creates a lot of scar tissue,
Yes.
right? And as you're growing, that scar tissue is going to hinder you from growth. So in order to get past that, you actually got to go back and break up that scar tissue or redo process or redo your tech stack or redo decisions that you've made so that you can foster that environment of growth. So these are things that the fractional role can come in and really help you to um, avoid those pitfalls and get time back and be able to spend more time in the areas of your business that you want to.
Right. I like that a lot because I feel like, you really need people helping you because a lot of times I see businesses where they have so many business grows or even, even if the business has plateaued, there is so much responsibilities that still need to be done in order to be, to kind of flow about above water so you don't drown yourself. And if your business is growing and you have all these other extra responsibilities and time really has to be met productively, if you don't have the right people working with you, and they have that experience in certain levels, especially on a higher level, you could really lose track of what's going on in the company itself and then not really know what really needs to be, strongly, focused on too. And that could help. That could cause a business to drown if you don't have that COO.
Yeah, absolutely. It can happen very quickly. And one of the things that really fuels me about being in this type of role and helping these kind of companies is that there's a lot of great ideas out there,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of these great ideas never see the light of day, and that's really unfortunate. My work in that healthcare wellness space, a lot of these ideas, and the work that you've done too, Stacey, with the things that you've wrote about and sharing your experience, right?
Hmm.
These things help people, right? They save
Right.
lives, they make lives better. So it's a shame when a great idea, a great solution, a great product really doesn't see the light of day and
Yeah.
doesn't become a business because of these things we talked about, right? It's no fault to the founder. They
Right.
have a great passion, they're a genius in what they do, something that
Right.
I couldn't do, right? But that's where someone like me can help them get that idea out there, really make it into a business, figure out how to make it sustainable, and really help people because that's what a lot of them are out to do
Yes.
with what their business is.
I like that. If someone wanted to find a CEO, is this something that you do yourself? Or is that, or is this something that you have to look for in a specific place? Like, because people don't, like we talked about in the beginning, people don't always know what a COO is. So when you
Yeah.
introduce it to them, is this a service that you provide yourself?
Yeah, so that's what I do. I will take on anywhere from 2 to 4 fractional roles
Hmm.
at any given time. So it's the service I do. It's also growing. There's a lot more executives like myself that have gotten out of the corporate environment because, again, we want flexibility. Um, I enjoy helping multiple groups at the same time
Right.
because it keeps my passion fueled, right, to help different
Yeah.
groups. And a lot of times at the earlier stages of companies, or even coming in or adding a fractional,
Hmm.
it's not a 40-hour per week role,
Yeah.
right? So you lose a lot of time because there might not be enough for that. But in the fractional capacity, again, you can get really laser focused on certain things to improve your business. And it's interesting the mix too. I know I've worked with a different array of companies over time, but to find what's the right fit, like right at what stage or what kind of company is looking for this role, right?
Right.
And what I found, there's 5 like different kind of companies that fit for this role and what they're looking for.
Hmm.
Um, so the first one is startups, right?
Yeah.
Which is an interesting mix because a lot of times startups are they're tight budget, they're trying to bootstrap, they may not have any funding, right? So
Yeah.
um, but a recent study has found, though, and again, fractional space is new, so I just feel like these numbers are going to get better as time goes on.
Right.
But a seed stage company can really significantly benefit from adding a fractional COO because
Hmm.
what it actually has shown that it'll reduce operational waste by 22% within 6 months
Hmm.
versus a founder-led operations strategy, right? Again, something we just talked about not that long ago is founders are geniuses in whatever product or service they're bringing to the market.
Yeah.
Operations is not their background and not their expertise. So 22% waste in 6 months is huge for a seed
Yeah.
startup, right? That's a huge chunk of your money. So that can, just taking that out with no revenue growth, that can extend, it could be as much as 5 or 6 months extension to that initial seed that you've raised.
Right.
So that's, an interesting group for them. And the fractional can really establish a foundation and a foundational process that'll allow those companies to scale the right way,
Right.
right? We find a lot of scale ups, they get money and it's kind of like, ooh, it's like if a lot of people when they win the lottery, right? They
Yeah.
buy a huge house, they buy a couple cars, right? They get a little frivolous with their spending. And the same happens with startups. Again, obviously they're not going out and buying mansions or fancy sports cars, but
Yeah.
you know, they'll get the influx of cash and think, oh wait, we can like put a lot of money into our tech, we can hire a bunch of new people, and then next thing you know, you run out of money. So
Yeah.
startups is a good area. The ones that I really like the most, and again, startups are super fun too, but that high growth company,
Yeah.
a company that's just really getting ready to grow or has started to grow,
Hmm.
and they sometimes find that that growth comes organically, but suddenly
Yeah.
they're buried, right? They don't know how to do it all. So there was a 2024 analysis of 45 SaaS firms, so in the software tech space, right? Um, those that used a fractional COO during that growth phase maintained a 31% higher EBITDA margins than their peers that hired a full-time COO,
Yeah.
right? Which is surprising to have someone there all the time. But you go back to kind of the cost savings efficiency that are built in. Again, that's huge, right? Especially if you're growing and maybe you're looking to exit, right? Or
Right.
maybe you're looking to get more funding or go public or whatever that is, right? 31% higher return is an unbelievable difference, right?
Yes.
So the high growth companies can benefit too. Something that you had talked about earlier, established enterprises, right? The
Hmm.
company's just maybe been stagnant for a while. They don't know why. Maybe there's been a little bit of creep in their operational margins decreasing. Maybe the market has changed, right? There's a lot of different things. But that's where also kind of this kind of role can come in and bring a fresh perspective, right? And
Right.
maybe they may come from a different industry, which has that fresh perspective, maybe other ideas pulling in that can help. That I do that a lot, right? I work in that healthcare space, but also the tech space, and those are two completely different environments. And I speak both those languages, but I can go into a tech space and apply some of the lessons learned in healthcare, and that really will help them take the next step. And same
Right.
thing, you think of the agile nature of a tech startup or a tech company, and you bring that into the kind of slow-paced healthcare world, right? That can change some things. That can really
Yeah.
increase innovation. So one of the things that they found, especially with this cross-industry experience, is it can drive 19% faster process improvements compared to someone who's promoted internally.
Yes.
So again, that value of fresh perspective is one of those. And especially in the healthcare space, we see, right, there's a lot of what we call organizational inertia,
Yes.
right? An
Hmm.
object stays at rest unless there's a force, impeded upon it. And healthcare
Right.
is a object that's stagnant a lot of times, so pushing it helps. Um, the last two, kind of quickly, companies in transition,
Right.
right? So if there's a restructuring, a merger, or there's maybe specific operational challenges that have popped up, um, we can come and help provide that leadership, whether it's
Oh,
bringing the other leaders together from multiple companies, whether it's change management, whether it's new process.
yeah.
How does all that integrate, right? Somebody with that experience can work across multiple departments, which is what chief operating officer typically does, is work across departments and bring that together. So
Wow.
everyone's working towards the strategic goals of the company and making sure those are met. Um, Last one we touched upon a little, maybe there's just a specific project,
Yeah.
right? You specifically, physical therapy is a great example, right? Scheduling patients for physical therapy and making sure those calendars are full is a huge, massive undertaking, right? Because
Right.
Stacey, if you think about it, hey, Stacey, great, we have an opening. Can you be there and tomorrow at 10? Oh
Yeah.
no, I can't, right? I got something planned. That's something. So being able to go in and really hyper focus on a specific need can really help a company break through on something that maybe they haven't been able to solve.
I like that. Do you think this is the future of business, bringing in the fractional CEO COO to actually help take the burden off and really help, keep everything organized in perspective and making sure that everything gets done properly because now it's freeing up time from other important roles of the business and things could really be focused on properly and enough time could be spent on each individual project or, whatever is going on at the moment. So everything gets done correctly, gets done thoroughly, and then in the long run, profits will increase and then you'll see a positive outcome.
Yeah, I feel like it's a growing trend in the workforce today, period. right? Kind of that freelance work, that fractional role. You see a lot of people, like Upwork, for example,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes if you're a small business and you need help designing a logo or designing a marketing piece, I don't want to hire a marketing agency for
Yeah.
$30,000, right? But I can hire someone for $1,000 to do what
Yeah.
I need, right? So it's part of where you're seeing kind of the small and medium sized businesses go. Now, um, it's really, I wrote an article recently on my LinkedIn profile about this. It's really an untapped resource, right? And since it's new, like you had said a few times, people don't know about it. But it really is a secret weapon because if you think about you're a small business, you're new to running a business, maybe even it's your second business, you have a small team. They're kind of like friends or people you've networked and then brought them into your space. And
Mhm.
suddenly you can add someone that has executive experience, that has grown and scaled companies into your small business.
Yeah.
How valuable is that? Right? Especially at a cost that you can afford.
Right.
Um, and there's, even ways within that to make it even more bite size. So um, it's invaluable and it's a huge competitive edge, right? There's a lot of companies in similar spaces where if you have three companies and now one of them brings in a fractional executive with 30 years experience that can really help you push past a lot of boundaries, that's going to give you a huge leg up on your two competitors,
Yeah.
right? And you think about it in a local market, that's a big deal,
It is a big
right?
deal. Definitely.
And it's one of those things, it's an investment too. And I talk to a lot of business owners that piece things together, especially when they're creating their tech stack and their operations. It's like, well, I hired somebody and I pay them a couple thousand a month to create this fancy dashboard so I can track
Yeah.
my metrics and KPIs. And then I spend, another couple $1,000s on marketing strategy with someone else. And then I have to bring in a consultant every once in a while to do these other things. That gets costly. And you're piecing in all these people that really don't know your business inside
Yeah.
and out, which is what a fractional can add. So um, that's where I think it's going. And one of the things I like to do with help companies grow and scale is think exponentially. And we've talked like this on one of the shows before
Yeah.
about just your mindset and thinking about growing 10x versus 2x and how
Right.
much actually it sounds different, but it's actually easier to scale 10x versus 2x because of the way
Yes.
you think. And um, that's where this comes into, right? Because that person can give you that, really teach you and upgrade your skills to think that way. So
Hmm.
you're not making decisions kind of in the heat of the moment to fix fire. You're thinking more long term strategically on how it's going. So it's a huge benefit for that. And it's really maintaining that flexibility in your company as you scale is also
Hmm.
part of it, right? You're starting a company, I mean, your podcast, right? You have people that help you edit, produce it, put out marketing materials, all that stuff. Um, as you grow, does it make sense to hire 15 people to do all that today? No.
Right.
Although you may have a big enough staff for 15, but in general, right, you wouldn't hire everyone up front.
No.
So you would hire people in stages. And a fractional COO, they're actually one of those people that you hire in stages, but
Right.
then they'll help you bring in people at the right stage or help you to keep other workers flexible in your workforce, which will help you with that growth. So it's a huge edge and really, really untapped. And like I said, and I always understand the founders I work with, right? Throwing a big chunk of money, and sometimes this is larger than they've ever paid a single person,
Yeah.
but you're hiring someone that is really going to help you drive your business. So I typically find that their investment in me will typically return anywhere from 8 to 100 times their investment into the company because when a fractional COO comes in and builds that foundation, that's going to last 10, 15, 20 years on how it's
Yeah.
built. So of course you change it over time, but um, that foundation and the change in your profits early on,
Yeah.
as you know, when invested correctly as well, can really exponentially grow as well and really make life a lot easier for you from a work-life balance, but also
Mhm.
financially, right? Because again, as much as we like to help people and we have a passion for helping people, you're still running a business. So you
Right.
still need to make sure it can be sustainable and obviously bring in the income that you're looking for.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. Now, if we had to take today's conversation and you really wanted to emphasize on a couple of important factors, what are the things that you really like to emphasize from today's conversation?
Yeah, I'd like to emphasize for all those founders listening, CEOs listening, one, take a deep breath, right? It's busy. There's a lot going on. That's the one thing. And then I would say also to those founders and CEOs listening, and even other people with their businesses or wherever they are in the business organization, if you find yourself overwhelmed with operational tasks, if you find your current team is just, again, they can all be wonderful people and wonderful workers, but maybe they don't have the skill set,
Right.
entertain a fractional, talk to a fractional, reach out. You can search it on LinkedIn, finding them. There's actual fractional organizations that'll help you hire a fractional. So that's growing. Have the conversation, right?
Hmm.
That's all I ask, right? The investment isn't huge when you look at the grand scheme of things, but have a conversation. You'll find somebody that fits for your business and meets your personality, that has that skill set that can help both you and your business succeed.
Right.
And again, those investments are small compared to a big hire, which I know is very scary to do,
Right.
especially when it's your business, right? It's your baby, you've grown it. So I would say again, take a deep breath. If you're asking yourselves those questions, can my team just it just doesn't feel like my team has the skill set, or I'm working way too hard.
Yeah.
Reach out, talk to a fractional. I'm happy for those out there. If they don't need an operational space, I have many contacts in the marketing space, in the financial space that are fractionals that are looking to help too. So um, just have that conversation. I promise you, it'll be one of the best decisions you've ever made for your business because you're going to see your business in a lot better light than you ever have before.
That's wonderful. That is great advice. I really think people really have to like really stop and think like you and really think about what's best for the business and not like you said,
Yeah.
jump in, hire 15 people all at once, but really, bring that fractional COO and let them help you and and start bringing in that like fractional leadership like you talked about and the COO and really start to see gradual but yet productive changes, and that will eventually snowball into big changes when it's done properly, because everybody will be able to function at a better rate because they'll have less burdens to deal with in their business.
Yeah, and that you're bringing that person into your business as kind of your right hand person, right? So they're there with
Yeah,
you. It's a partnership. They've decided to help join you because they want to see you succeed,
yeah,
right? It's not one of those organizational plays where you got to be careful on who you bring in and what they're
yes,
going to do, and are they trying to steal your business? Every fractional I know is not looking to overtake your business at all. They just want to make you successful, and that's where they're coming from. They've gotten out of that, and again, the fractional space, like we talked about too. A lot of people will come in. You have the EOS people that just come in and they'll institute like a framework to what you're doing. And again, that's you pay someone to do that probably as much, if not more, than you'll pay a fractional. And they're only doing 20% of what a fractional would do. So that's why I say have that conversation and kind of go forward.
I like that. Now, tell everybody about the services that you provide.
Yeah, thank you. So Adams Consulting Firm's my own group. It's just me, but of course, there's a bunch of people and partners that I work with that can help me out if needed. But I provide fractional chief operating officer or fractional chief of staff services. We covered the COO, the chief operating officer today. Uh, Chief of staff is someone who's going to work with your entire executive team. So more of a medium-sized business that are looking really if there's communication issues,
Hmm.
if there's issues across departments that really strategy of what you set forth really isn't getting done, and there's really a lot of disjointedness. A chief strategist or a chief of staff can help come in and pull those things together. So I offer those two services. I also do strategic advisory services more for the startup environment to
Hmm.
kind of help them get through those early stages. So um, I offer those too. One of the things also I think is important when talking about my services is that the fractional roles are dedicated roles, right? So you have dedicated um, work time with me. throughout it. It's not like a someone who's you're going to give a task to never see again, and in 2 weeks they send a report, right? Um, it's a consistent kind of communication and back and forth. And again, if there's things that pop up while we're working with you, like we want to be a part of those conversations, right? Because we
Right.
are a part of your business. So again, I offer those fractional services. They are limited because
Hmm.
I want to make sure I can provide the attention and quality of service to my clients.
Right. I love it. Now, where can people find you?
Yeah, like we've said before, Scott Adams is a really common name, so it's tough to search. So you can find adamsconsultingfirm.com on my website, or
Hmm.
even you can search Adams Consulting Firm on LinkedIn, and then you'll find me, Scott Adams. On there, you can see my history. It's also on the website as well. Now, both of those locations have the ability to schedule immediately a free consultation. So, like we talked about earlier, let's have that conversation. There's no risk to have it, there's no cost to have it. I'm happy to talk with you. And again, like I said earlier, if I can't help you with your specific problem, I will at very least point you in the direction or make an introduction that can help you.
I love it. I love it. This is amazing. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. This is a great topic because I think a lot of sometimes people try to do everything themselves. And, especially with startups and small businesses and even medium businesses, they start to, they start to realize that it can't just be them alone. But you do have those people that, still try to do everything, and because nobody could do a better job than me with
Right.
that scenario. So I think it's really important that people understand the value of fractional leadership and having a COO and what that could actually do. And because little changes could actually, like you said, it's easier to 10x a business than 2x a
Yep.
business. And that's what you want. And you just by leveraging some of the responsibility and being able to really, keep everything where everyone's not overwhelmed and they could focus on what they need to focus on can make such an impact on a business and improve their growth dramatically, So I think it's great
Yeah.
what you're doing. I like the concept and I'm glad you brought it up today because it's not really talked about a lot. You don't really hear people, they talk about business consulting, but they don't talk about fractional leadership and the CEO and the benefits and the advantages that come along with it. So I'm glad you came on the show to tell people that and to offer your services because your Adams Consultant is an excellent firm, and I believe in you totally. I love your work. I think you're doing a great job, and I thank you so much for coming on today to share this information, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise, Stacey. I appreciate having the opportunity to chat with you and to share what we do. Because again, I know both of us are really huge proponents of wellness and healthcare and helping people live better lives. And if I can help companies to kind of continue that mission that I know both of us are so passionate about, that makes me happy. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for having our conversation again and really helping bring that out there to your audience. And hopefully we can help a handful of businesses together to really help more people.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I thank you. I thank you for what you're doing. You're doing a great job and I appreciate that you work in the wellness field and that you're able to help people because right now, especially in today's society, we struggle in that area and wellness is very important mentally, physically, we
Yeah,
need wellness and no, if you don't have wellness, you can't do business well either. If you don't have that focus, that clarity, that ability to focus on what you need to focus on you really, it's very hard to grow and establish it, and that affects all areas of life. So we want to make sure that we have, everything tacked in order. So thank you once again.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Stacey.
You're welcome. You have a great day.
You too. Bye now.
Bye bye.